on Dateline Abuja, we like to explore long-term solutions. What is the long-term solution to a population rise? And if you think there are too many people now, wait till the pandemic ends and these COVID babies grow up. My guest is Dr. Eyitayo Oyetunji. According to him, if the right measures are not put in place now, we're heading for more hot water in the next few years. Dr. Oyetunji, welcome to Dateline Abuja.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be on this good program.
Well, we just joined the rest of the world to celebrate World Population Day, and we're looking at the correlation between reproductive health and COVID-19. Talk to us about the relationship between these two terms.
Yes, the theme for this year really is focusing on not just reproductive health, but the choices that women can make, their rights, and also their health. No doubt, the COVID-19 pandemic, especially the lockdown, had effects on health in general and health services in general. But we believe that the impact was more on the women and girls. And now that we have passed, or we are passing out of the lockdown era, the aim is first to see how we can reverse some of the negative impact it had on women and how to further promote the rights, the choices, and health of women. The idea is we shouldn't be focusing so much on the demographics while at the expense of the actors themselves. So during the lockdown, the proposition was that because there were disruptions in services, family planning services, and so on, and because of the lockdown, which meant that couples, families were at home, the proposition was that there was likely to be an increase in fertility in the post-COVID-19 era. That proposition has not been substantiated by any data. But what we're saying is whether that is so or not, that is whether we'll have a baby boom after the COVID-19 or not, should not preoccupy us too much. What we should focus on is how to improve the lot of women and girls.
Because that was actually going to be my next question. Is there proof? Because this is not just a Nigerian question. This is something that has been discussed all over the world. There's talk about COVID babies and the fact that, you know, with the lockdown around the world, there was an increase in reproduction, so to speak, you know, and that we should, the long-term effect, it may seem like a small thing, you know, in the beginning, but the long-term effect, you know, could be something that many countries will have to grapple with. Will Nigeria have to grapple with a baby boom at some point? Is there going to be a population explosion? Because the figures are actually coming in, even though you say that there is nothing to state that this has happened already, but we're seeing figures coming in from IDP camps.
Yes, like I said, the indices, the factors presupposes that we should expect a boom. I mean, if people were locked in and yet you had disruption in services to family planning. In other words, you're locked in at a time when you cannot actually have access to family planning services. The expectation should be that there will be an increase. But like I said, the increase is not, the effect is not expected to be the same for all countries. In some countries, it may be a bust. In some countries, it may be a boom. And that's why this year's theme for the world population is saying, hey, let's focus too much on whether it's going to be a boom or a bust. Rather, especially for us in Nigeria, let us focus on those negative things that happen to women and girls during the lockdown.
Do we have to pick one or the other? Isn't that can't we do both at the same time while ensuring that women's reproductive health, you know, and access to all of these things that are available for women, making sure that that access is there, and then planning against a baby boom, a potential baby boom? Does it have to be one or the other? Can't we focus on both?
For us in Nigeria, we've always focused on the other. In other words, for us, especially at the National Population Commission, we've always been concerned about the rapid growth of the Nigerian population.
Has the pandemic impacted on our growth as a country in terms of numbers of people? Has this happened?
It might happen, let me put it that way, because we don't have the figures. But what we're saying is, for example, just a couple of, maybe 3 weeks ago, the Federal Executive Council approved the National Population Policy. And central to that policy is management of the population in such a manner that we can reduce the rate of growth. Be careful, mind my words, I didn't say the size of the Nigerian population, but the rapidity of the growth. That's what we're concerned about. It's like a child that is growing up rapidly. Managing his needs is challenging. About the time you buy his shoes, before you know it, he has outgrown that shoes. And that's what happens when you have a rapidly growing population, as we have in Nigeria. And we're saying, like you just said, that if we already have this problem, and then the pandemic increases the rate of growth, then we need to double our effort. But rather than getting fixated with that challenge, let's continue to focus on those arrangements we have made, and let's also focus on the women. Because we noticed that apart from increase in population, during the pandemic, there were increases in gender-based violence against women and girls, increase in harmful practices against women and girls, a disruption of reproductive health services, which was already fragile, for women and girls. We have a very high maternal mortality rate in Nigeria, 513 thereabout to 100,000 births. That is already high. And then we did have a pandemic that also now exacerbated, access to maternal health and reproductive health. So we're saying that as a first step, let's take actions to reverse whatever has happened to women and girls.
Former President Olusegun Obasanjo had raised concerns that the nation's population could be a liability by 2050, when we are predicted to be the third largest population in the world. Do you agree with him?
Yeah, if we go at the rate we're going, yes. For us at the National Population Commission, for example, the projections are obvious. Whether we reduce population or not today, there's already a built-in momentum that our population we continue to increase for the next 50 or so years. There's nothing we can do to stop that, because the momentum has already been built in, because we already have a large proportion of the population in the reproductive age bracket, and you can't do anything about that. Now, what we're saying is, if we make the right investments in the emerging youthful population, it can actually become an asset. That's why I'm saying it can be a challenge depending on
what
how.
What sort of investments?
Investment in health, investment in education, investment in skill acquisition, investment in good governance, and so on. There are about 5 pillars. We call it investments that are necessary for harnessing the demographic dividend. The transition that Nigeria is moving towards is a transition from a child-based population to a youthful population. Hitherto, Nigeria had a child-based population where a larger proportion of the population were under the age of 15. But we're moving away thanks to improvement in health system that has reduced mortality. More and more of those children are growing up to become young people. And the experience has been, especially in the East Asian countries, has been that when a larger proportion of the population are in that bracket, working age bracket, youth, if appropriate investments are made on those that category of the population, then you have the potential to harness a dividend of the demography. We call it the demographic dividend.
Thank you so much,
yeah.
Dr. Yetunji, for being with us on Dateline Abuja.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure and an honor to be on this very important program of yours. Thank you very much.